All right, and we're going on to a live recording from Tio Michael Talks, and I want to introduce you my guests as we talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the year in review, which is 2023, a year that we saw what one, two, three, four Marvel Cinematic releases, and we not only dealt with the changes after the pandemic, where we're seeing they're trying to figure out the new paradigm of distribution, whether things are going to be in the movies, how long, how much are they going to make from streaming. Recently, there's been announced that several stores have stopped their physical media, DVDs and stuff selling, so that's on the way out, like the 8-track and the other cassettes and all that stuff. They're going out, and streaming is a big thing. We also had the strike, both the writers and the directors, and pretty much everybody was on strike one time or another. So all these made a big difference as we look at it, and the numbers aren't pretty. So I want to introduce to you my guests. We have go around the clock there. We have Lewis to my left on the screen. My friend Lewis, who is a movie maniac, loves all types of movies, and he knows more about movies than I can even recall. Underneath him, we have my cousin Brian, who is into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the toys, the comics, everything. And then we have Maverick Ace, my friend Sean, right directly underneath me. And Sean he loves the Marvel movies and getting into all of the stuff, but he's more of a sci-fi and gaming guy. Big Star Trek fan, and joining in. So welcome everybody. First off, Marvel Cinematic Universe 2023. Good, bad, or indifferent? Lewis?
I want to say indifferent. I mean, I like the stuff that's come out, but at some time during, some point during the movies, like in Ant-Man and in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I found myself watching it. I'm like, okay, where are they going? This has got to be better. It just wasn't, I liked it, but it wasn't pulling me in and grasping me like I want the movies to do. Okay. Whereas when I saw the Marvels, I was like, okay, I like what they're doing here. I thought it was interesting, especially the end.
Brian?
I would say in between, I'm indifferent. Basically, in the 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, from Tony, which was Robbie Downey Jr., all the way till Endgame, they set the bar so high that upcoming movies now are just basically under it. So it's like, we're expecting like, oh, wow. But I get where they're coming from. They're building something so at the end of whatever comes next, we can see on par with whatever's coming up. But 2023, I would say it was its lowest. Yes, they had streamings like Loki. They had other streaming and movies. Ant-Man. I'm just basically not as hyped as I was in the past. I know with everything with going on with COVID, it's just a little more stricter. And now with the I would say the writings and stuff like that with the protests and stuff. So it just made it more difficult for them to move around more. So I would say in the middle, in between.
All right, Sean?
I would say in between as well. Looking back 10 years, this year is definitely different, right? Post-pandemic, people trying to get into theaters. I also think cost of inflation, it's a lot more, it's always been expensive going to movies, but if you think about, could cost $50, $60, do you wait for it to go on streaming, or do you go in the theater, the experience? Like using Endgame as an example, it was that big experience with all the people there. Now you've got other means, you could watch it at home with a group of people. So, I would say, indifferent. I mean, and the other thing, just observation is, they've been they have a high standard. You're right. I mean, everyone compares it to, I keep saying Endgame or whatever, but there's a high expectation these movies will perform. And I think, people hold it higher than, they have to understand that not every movie is going to be like that.
Yep.
And that's kind of my perspective on it.
Mhm.
I have to say that I felt indifferent.
Mhm.
I still felt it was good, but there was a lot of things, I think, like Lewis said, there was parts where I'm like, that didn't, there wasn't consistency, and there wasn't as much cohesion as there was before. Even though each movie was an independent movie, Marvel movie, there seemed to be one direction they were all leaning towards.
And
And there was just too much going on. And I will have to say that I think the fact that they decided to do different eras of time during the streaming stuff on Disney Plus, that it took away from the cohesion. I don't need it all to be the same story, but at least things that happened in one should have shown up somewhere. If we have not seen that darn celestial that's frozen out in the middle of the ocean, nobody's mentioned it, and
right.
it's out somewhere.
Like the end credit scenes, for example, you always knew something was coming, but they've been putting these end credit scenes, and you don't hear anything. Like, when's it going to happen?
Yeah.
I get what you're saying with that. It's a good point.
So that's my
Mhm.
feeling on it. But I want to give you guys up because we're talking amongst ourselves, but also I want the viewers to kind of keep it in perspective when we're using things and talking about like Endgame. The number one Marvel Cinematic Universe moneymaker was Endgame at $858 million domestic gross. Okay. So quite a bit over 858 million.
Mhm.
The second biggest moneymaker was Spider-Man No Way Home at 804 million. And then Black Panther was number 3, 700 million. So was Marvel a victim of its own success? Endgame, everybody was in it.
Mhm.
Spider-Man No Way Home, multiple universes are in it. Black Panther was a zeitgeist, or I can't even pronounce the word, but it was just an experience that people were buying tickets to donate to other groups, to take kids in groups to go see it. So that whole mentality and hype, but also the idea of we're going out there to see it. Endgame was the culmination of everything they did for the first 10 years. Spider-Man No Way Home was what we needed to get out to the movies from the pandemic.
Mhm.
And then Black Panther was one of the most original and largest black casted and focused movie that it became a part of the mythology and of the social conscience. That where do we go after that? Do you feel like any of those movies touch upon that after?
Very loosely. I mean, they might throw some names of, other characters, but that's kind of the extent of it, I found. They may say Captain America, or, they may throw a reference, but they don't really expand upon it. That's what I see.
I mean, if you look at, they try to do the same thing. Let's throw all the heroes in it, or multiple people, right?
Right.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness
Mhm.
was 411 million.
Wow.
So even
Mhm.
that's respectable. That's still top 10. That was number 9. So now let's look at 2023. The number one ranking movie for Marvel for 2023 was Across the Spider-Verse, the cartoon. And that came in at 381 million. So under what Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness did.
I like to add there was a reference people said about this 2023 is with the different media platforms. Some people said, some people they've said, and I want your thoughts, hesitated to watch some of these movies because they thought they would have to find the backstory on Disney or streaming. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like your thoughts on that because I've watched them all on the streaming, Disney Plus, but I think there was some hesitation. That's what people said. Well, maybe I won't understand the backstory.
Guys, what's your feeling? Lewis?
So I need to go back and watch Loki and WandaVision so I can understand, and even Miss Marvel so I can understand, the backstories and such. But I mean, I kind of knew where
Did
they were
that
going.
detract from the movie going experience for you? Like thinking that you had to get some backstory?
I did a little bit, I'm watching the movie. I'm like, okay, maybe if I watch this and that, I would understand a little bit more. But I was able to pick up on things. And then, like I told you before, Michael, before we started recording and stuff, that when we got to the post credit scenes, I said, I know where you're going. And I was like, okay.
Ryan?
Yeah.
I haven't seen Loki season 2. It's I guess it's when you have movies hitting theaters and then you have shows hitting streaming, and then it's like wait till next week. Then next week you're busy and then you forget to watch it or something. I guess that's the reason why a lot of people haven't like nailed the streaming platform. It's just the waiting versus like hitting theaters. For example, I would say Miss Marvel. I didn't even go to see it because I was so busy on doing other things, and then I'm like, oh wait, I haven't seen Loki. I don't want to see Loki without seeing Miss Marvel. So it's like, oh wait, so um, then you got people spoilers, so I know what's going on, and then it's like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna go see it. Then I know what's going on. So I guess that's what's causing these major films and actors that are losing what they call their numbers. A lot of people are just talking about it. You have people on streaming devices, on talks and open mics and stuff like that. They communicate, so you really lose interest in going to the theater and then go and see it. So that's my opinion. I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't gone.
Are there too many comic movies?
I'd say too frequent. I think they should give it a break. Um, I know, other not using, you said that other sci-fi like Star Trek had kind of a similar thing where they were having a lot of TV series on, and then they
Mhm.
took a break for a while, and then they kind of restarted it. So I'm not doing comparison. Yeah, there's been a lot when you factor in all the shows that have been on streaming this year, plus the movies. That's a lot. I mean, some people can just say, "I just don't have the time. I'm still catching up watching the other series."
Hmm.
And then I think you brought up a good point earlier. Is you're like, well, do I watch the movie now? But I have to watch Loki season 2. Wait, actually, it'll be on streaming in 2 months anyway. I'll just wait to see it at home. You know what I mean? Like I don't have the time to see it and then go to the movies. I'll just wait and do it all at once. So
Mhm.
that's my percent. That's what I think.
Yeah.
What can they do to fix it?
Better
I,
stories.
Better stories, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
The writing suffered
yeah,
in these last. It was very disjointed, to say the least.
Right.
yeah. I think
Make it make
I'll just
sense.
add that even with these movies, I've seen them all in the movies this year, all of them. But I'll tell you all, I have not. Usually with the Marvel movies, I would re-see them either in the movies or follow up at home. I have only seen them once. All the movies that came out this year in 23. I don't. Have you all repeated a movie again? Like seen a second time or third time? I didn't.
I
Yes.
That's an observation.
I have not gone to see a movie for the second time in the movie theater. I
Okay.
wait till it hits streaming,
Okay.
and give you kind of a little history. I was researching some stuff in the old days when they first started doing actual scheduling of cinematic dates so that everybody wasn't stepping over each other. That started in the 70s.
Mm,
They used to have an agreement that nothing went to video on demand or DVD, not DVD, excuse me, tape releases until a year to 3 years after the movie was out.
Mm-hmm.
And when they started making more and more videotapes, they switched that to 4 to 6 months. Now we're looking at 7 weeks. And during the pandemic, I think it was Universal that put in a rule. If a movie makes 50 million or more, this is where I think a lot of we started looking at the numbers more.
Yeah.
50 million or more on opening weekend, they'll give them the extended time before they go to video on demand and then to streaming.
Mm-hmm.
But if they make 50 million or less, then they're going to go to streaming within 7 to 8 weeks.
I didn't know that.
So they're trying, because, and this is where I think the fight was with SAG-AFTRA, was nobody was sharing how much they were making off streaming. But with streaming, at that point in time, they didn't have the same agreements as with video or open releases in the theater. So the people, they didn't have to pay so many middlemen. So a lot more money went into the studio's pockets. And so the streaming was being kept hush hush. You know, Netflix still hasn't released what makes a big movie for them or not. We don't actually know what they're making or how much. And even some of the people that make the movies, they don't know how much they're getting credit or how much they make money for. And that was one of the sticking points, as I understand it, for the SAG-AFTRA strike, because there's still money, because these people are buying left and right and consolidating for streaming. And they wouldn't do that unless there's some money somewhere. Somebody's getting paid. And so they have to make sure everybody's getting paid correctly. Because, I mean, people are watching these things and they're still popular. And I'm still looking up and research. I'm trying to see, where's those numbers? How do we see what that makes up, or what makes it popular enough to keep? I mean, I want to put another thing in comparison. The top moneymaker for superhero movies was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, 381 million. The top movie of the year so far to date, per Box Office Mojo, 636 million, Barbie.
Barbie.
Followed by 574 million for Super Mario Brothers. So while a lot of people are talking about that there is a comic book, what do they call it? What's the term that they're using, that people are getting tired of the comic book movies? They're saturation or something.
Yeah.
What is it?
That's good.
What were you going to say?
Nostalgia or something like that. The like the fandom.
Yeah, that there's some
No,
sort
fatigue,
of like
fatigue, Michael.
Fatigue.
That's the
comic
word.
movie fatigue.
Yeah.
The two top movies are based on a video game and toys. So I don't think there's a fatigue. I think there's a lack of originality. They feel like it's the same story being retold, or giving us something different. But whenever they try to do something different, doesn't always succeed. So I think, like Lewis said, better writing, better stories. And this is something Marvel went through in the comic books. There was a rush where there was, in the 90s, where we had books like crazy. Wolverine and Daredevil, Wolverine and Deadpool were in every single book. And they were just throwing it out there to saturate the market. But something that they did in the 80s that I think really worked was, and it was Jim Shooter, who was the editor-in-chief of Marvel at the time. He said every single comic book has to be, the first time that somebody reads it, they need to understand what's going on. So they would have like a recap page, and then kind of say, this is where we're going, and this is, so that each book was in itself, it could be a continuation of a story, but within itself, it explained it so that you understood the series.
Right.
And I don't think the movies are doing that now that they have the streaming through the Marvel streaming universe.
Yeah, I read something online. I didn't read too much into it, but apparently I've heard that Marvel might be going forward when the show starts. There's some indication that you don't need to know some connection. Have you heard of that?
No.
Any of you? I don't know. It's something like I would think a disclaimer or so, but something that says, okay, you don't need to know the backstory or seen this and this to know this, because I think that was like we talked about a hesitation with people of concern, like, well, again, seeing the Marvels, right? Did you need to see Loki? Did you have to see this? Or you know what I mean? And again, that's the hesitation. But people know they don't need to see those to understand what's going on. They may be more, willing to see it versus waiting.
All right. So
I don't know. Yeah, but just
back to the question of how do we fix it. Lewis says better writing.
Mhm.
Ryan, what's your thought?
I would say better writing, and also just I was um the cast members actually
Hmm.
make a bigger point. Actors, good actors, also bring a lot to it. Don't get me wrong. There's actors that are not top tier quality actors that pull it off, and you're like, wow, you're shocked, like, oh my god, this guy really can play this hero. Um, I would say better writing, better casting, and also
Hmm.
just find um, true to itself. Don't just add someone just to be rushed, and then say, hey,
Sure.
this actor needs to be played because we have nobody else to use. Because then just give it time. Don't rush it. Like we're talking about, a lot of movies are being rushed just because the excitement of Marvel Mania and stuff like that people think they don't see it, but we do. So
Hmm.
that's what I think is going on as well.
Sean?
I'd say the same writing, better writing. I mean, I don't want to say it's been cookie cutter writing, but you want to go into it really not knowing what to expect. And, there's this formula that I think has worked in the past. And, you know, I think it needs to be mixed up. But yeah, better writing. And I'd also add the frequency. I think you don't need to have three, four Marvel movies out in a year. You could spread it apart, build a hype over that, and I think that would build excitement and increase, moviegoers going to the movies versus at home.
Hmm.
I think the cast definitely plays a part in it as well. I mean, depending
Yeah,
on who you cast, but you don't have to go out there and get big names.
Right.
A perfect example is, I know he's not, well, he will be MCU, is Deadpool.
yeah.
Ryan Reynolds. I guess after X-Men Origins, nobody thought, that that Deadpool was going to do anything, and then look what Reynolds did. This is my son; he always does this. But
And I think that's a great point. One of the things I'm getting tired of in all movies, not just Marvel movies, I'm really tired of seeing the same actors in everything. There's a lot of young actors that I'd like to see take up some good roles and see what they can do. Everybody's talking about, oh, let's put what's his name from Maverick.
Tom Cruise.
Oh, Tom Cruise could be the next Iron Man. I mean, I don't want to
Well,
see.
he supposed to do Iron Man
Yeah, I
a long time
understand
ago?
that, and I know for the nostalgia and for that, let's get away from all the same people that we see in everything. I
Yeah.
don't want to see Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, that being said, a small cameo role where Leonardo DiCaprio during like a Secret Wars where the Earth is about to explode and he takes the Spider-Man hat off and he looks up like that I would pay to see. You know what I mean? Because he was
Right.
supposed to play Spider-Man when James Cameron was supposed to direct it, and he was younger. But if he takes off the Spider-Man mask and looks up just before Secret Wars ends with the whole Earth blowing up and restarting the whole secret Marvel universe, that I would like. But other than that, let's get some young talent out there. Look at Tom Holland.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't a named actor, real big actor that everybody knew, and he's done so well. Now what are they doing? They're throwing him in everything.
Yeah,
So
they're
where do you
exhausted.
find these people at then?
Well, apparently you go to England because every single one of them is coming from England.
That's true. Tom
You know,
Holland, Andrew Garfield, yeah,
How do
they're
you
all
get this guy from Brooklyn? He's got an English accent. What the?
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
agree.
here we talk, Brian, and your sister's in England.
You think, I mean, with Spider-Man, it's Spider-Man. I think there's a audience that's going to see it regardless. Do you think there's some hesitation in bringing new young actors or actresses into it? I mean, you raise a good point. I mean, what do you think?
I
Why?
think that the way they're looking at it is as a money making business. They're
Okay.
a
Yeah.
victim of their own success
Mhm.
because Avengers, while it made domestically 800 million, worldwide it hit a billion,
Wow.
over $1 billion. When you
Wow.
start hitting billions of dollars, and then that money's going into the producers and the owners and the executives' pockets
Everybody.
mostly,
Production.
then all of a sudden, then hey, everything else has got to be going into my pocket too.
Hmm.
And when they see numbers, Ant-Man, which was panned, okay. And here's the other thing: there's a it's like a concentrated anti-marketing strategy going on against some of these movies. Marvel's has gotten so much hate and so much bad press that even to this day, it's not done with its theatrical run. We still have the rest of the holiday season, which, if they're smart, even if they release it to video on demand, not streaming, but video on demand, and then still leave it in limited running, it's made $81 million, $81 million, or wait, 81,000, excuse me, not my bad,
Hmm.
81 million, yeah, 81,945,000, $81 million, and it's not done yet. Whereas Blue Beetle, everybody's talking about, oh, it's the best movie from DC. It did really well. Only made 72 million. It's already out. It's out of
Hmm.
theaters. So it's already beat what they were talking about as good, but they have talked nothing but trash about
Yeah.
Michael, you mentioned the money. I'm curious, like when a company's had enough, and determines that a movie's going to be a sequel or something like that, or they're going to can it. The reason I say that is because you look at like the cost of movies. I mean, obviously it's millions, hundreds of millions depending on the movie, and then sometimes you'll see that movie make a lot of money, in the box office, like double it or triple it or something like that, and then next thing you know, you're seeing that movie redone or later, and it's like, okay, well, I thought
it.
that movie made a lot of money. Why is that?
A
You
lot
know?
of it comes down to how much money it took to market. And
Hmm.
usually the rule of thumb is if the movie has made double what they took to make it, it's considered a success. But it also comes down to this magical mathematic system that they use for the movies because Forrest Gump, one of the most popular, most successful, and
Hmm.
biggest movies that we've had of the decade, uh, apparently didn't make. They wrote it down as not being profitable.
Are
Wow.
you serious?
That they tried to. The guy who wrote the book had taken a decision to make. He wanted a profit of whatever they. He wanted a portion, a percentage of whatever it made as profit. Well, for them, they told him it never made a profit.
Wow.
So they
I
tried not to give him. He ended up losing money because they offered him, we'll pay you. I don't know the exact numbers in front of me, but let's say, oh, we'll give you $1 million or you could take a percentage of the profit. Oh, I think this movie's going to be good. I love this. It's my book. I have faith in it. I'll take a percentage of the profit. Well, then they said, where's my money? He goes, oh, we never made a profit. When we take in all the money that we had to use for marketing and everything else, we never made a profit. We actually didn't make money. He had to take them to court and sue them. And then when it went to court, then they made a settlement outside of court.
mm,
Wow,
So
I
there's
didn't
there's
know
a
that.
lot of backhandedness in the movie studio system where they know how to do the math to make it look like they didn't make money.
Right.
it goes also to, and I mean, maybe we could, on a related note, there was some movies that would come out in the last year. I've noticed some movie studios just don't release it, right? And they're writing off the movie without even putting it out there. It's in some vault, right? And
Mhm.
they don't, I don't understand the logistics, Michael, but you know, that's been an interesting trend too of late, where they just don't put them out.
Then you got to think about the headaches with the actors.
Yeah, what
Right.
happened?
Look at what
Yeah,
happened
good
with the
points.
Flash. The Flash made 108 million.
Mhm.
108 million.
Right.
Not nothing to sneeze at.
No, that's good.
But they had to do all those reshoots. They had to do all that stuff because of what he had gotten into in legal wise. And
Mhm.
Marvel's facing that right now with Kang, where
Yeah.
the whole thing was to
Jonathan
keep him
Majors.
because
Yeah.
we don't know, they didn't know what's going to happen in his case. How
Right.
do we move forward with a branding of an entire series, and that they were really hesitant. And then you add in the strikes and everything else.
Right.
I understand the business aspect. I can see that. I can understand that. But at
Mhm.
the same time, this is creativity. We got
Right.
to do a business, but we got to be creative. We got to take chances.
Right.
And I don't understand the background when Blue Beetle made 25 million less than the Flash, but was viewed as a success.
Really, I didn't know that.
I
And
think
Well,
the
how much
Flash
did it
wasn't.
cost to make?
Yeah,
um
that's the thing. We don't always see. We have guesstimates. When we see those numbers, it's all guesstimates. We don't ever see the exact numbers.
right.
Mhm.
I
And
heard
Marvel's, I don't know. I don't know that. To me, and I liked Marvel's. I really enjoyed Marvel's.
I did, yeah.
But I
That's
didn't
cool.
think that the quality of, I think they used a lot of that surround sound
The
video system
screen
that they
that
have
they
in their studio now, where you could do everything almost green screen, and that limits the cost.
that's what they did in
Mhm.
what Mandalorian, right? They used that in some of the other
Yes.
movies. It looks like a virtual stage, right?
And
Um,
I could see that. And as we continue to get, listen, it's getting these deep fakes and everything else is getting it. You can't believe what you see anymore.
yeah.
Mhm.
mm-hmm.
One of you could be an AI. This going to become like Battlestar Galactica. Which one of you?
Hey, it's like the Terminator. The machines are taking over.
Hey, Lewis, if you ask me if I'm Sarah Connor, I'm deleting you right now.
But they
Hasta la
can't
vista.
they I always had an issue with people talking about numbers and then saying like, oh, it's all about, production and also the amount of money they put into it. Godzilla, don't get me don't quote me on this. I think they were saying $15 million they spent on the last Godzilla that just came out, and it did good. Like, it was pretty good.
You're
So
talking
they
about
can't say they
Godzilla
spent
vs. Kong
The new one,
the new
or
one
the
that just
Godzilla minus
Minus
one
one.
or
it just came
minus
out.
one, yeah.
Oh,
And they said it was okay. So like for that much money for it to be okay, I'm like surprised how Marvel movies are spending so much money on to just like
Mhm.
make it,
You can't
in
always.
between.
But here's the thing. Um, Godzilla minus one has made $51 million globally,
yeah.
but it didn't take as much to make.
Oh, I
Whew.
see.
So as far as on-screen percentage, how many screens they got it on, because it wasn't all over, it's
Mhm.
making money despite it. But what got it, it's more of its reputation. 97% fresh on tomato, Rotten
Um,
Tomato,
Oh.
it's got a high review.
and an A cinema score on the critics.
Mm,
Is
And
it
from
in
what I
English?
understand, I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it. I'm
I
a
have too.
big Godzilla fan.
Oh,
Me
it's
too.
I used to, when back in New York when it was Thanksgiving, they just would do a marathon of the old Godzilla, and we would watch it every year. But one
Michael,
of the
is it?
things is,
Yeah,
it's a retelling of the original Godzilla.
mm,
really?
I
That's
didn't know.
what I understand it is. I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it, but the
Uh,
writing and everything. But here's the thing. This is what blows my mind about it. It's in Japanese.
I was just
Oh,
about to ask, is it in Japanese or English?
Yeah.
It's in Japanese. So this movie has broken all the barriers because normally people wouldn't go.
mm,
And I found out an interesting tidbit while I was doing the research for what we were talking about. the number one movie going person that sees 4 movies or more a year in the country that everybody sees about 4 movies a year is Korea. Number one. America, on average, most people in America will see 3 point something movies a year. Now, all 4 of us are outside the norm. We are not
we
normal.
see everything.
Yeah.
We're helping keep them afloat. But that's the
Depending
thing.
on what it is.
So for the first time, you got to see my mother, and I'll give you an example. My mother, she's old. She's old. I'm old. She's older. So what happens is, she used to say, "I don't want to see anything if it's got subtitles. Why am I going to read the movie? I want to listen to the movie. She watches all these Korean dramas. People are getting used to seeing subtitles, so that it kind of set us up now with this Godzilla -1, and more and more with Duolingo and everything like that. I have friends of mine that are saying, my son, he'll listen to some stuff and he studies how they talk he studies Japanese. And so when they watch it, they'll catch some of the words. And I'm like, listen, I'm lucky if I understand Spanish. So, all right, guys, final thoughts. We've been on for 36 minutes. What do you think about the last 2 shows coming up for both Marvel and DC? Aquaman in December, that comes out December 22nd. And What If season 2, that's going to come out an episode a day through Christmas. So
when is What If coming out?
What If comes out, starts going on the 22nd or the 23rd of December.
Nice.
And every day will be a different episode all the way through the holidays.
Oh, I didn't even know it was coming out then. Okay.
So, Aquaman and What If? What's your thoughts? Lewis?
I probably will see Aquaman, like we were talking about. I like the director James Wan stuff. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Jason Momoa stuff, but I mean, I will see it just to see. I mean, hopefully it's interesting, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely want to see What If season 2 because I liked season 1. I thought where they went was really interesting, and I mean, if they continue that, I'm curious to see where they go. You know,
Okay.
I mean, it may set up interesting questions for MCU movies. Never know.
Brian?
I would say Aquaman. I'm a big fan of Jason Momoa, and I love the anything that has to do. I mean, to be honest, Aquaman is my favorite DC character overall compared to Batman and everything like that. So I was not gonna give it too much hype because nowadays there are things that can let you down or just like impress you. I don't know if it's under the new director Zack Snyder, right? Or the new
No. This is the end of the
This is the
Snyder.
end
of that era.
Yeah.
Then he takes over. So we'll
But
see.
here's the thing. End of the Snyderverse, but it's after Flash came back and made some changes. Because remember, at the end of the Flash, spoiler alert, if you're watching, I'm giving you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At the end of the Flash, Batman was George Clooney, so something's wrong in the universe still.
I think they did that just to toy with people.
But it's telling you that it's not the same universe. So what are we going to see change in Aquaman? Which that could make people want to go check it out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then What If? I like the actors that play their voices, and obviously they're the same actors that have been playing the person in role in live action. So Marvel hasn't given much of a thought of like me going back to back, like, oh my God, I need to see this. But it's now like, another one. Okay, let's watch it.
Okay. Sean?
Aquaman, yes, I will be there, Michael. If you for the opening night, I would see it because I think the last one was great. Definitely wanted Jason Momoa, great actor. Been following him, absolutely. And regardless of what people say, I like to see it and make a judgment. And hopefully they, like you said, it's the last kind of in that line. So be interesting to see how they finish the movie and see what we get from that. And then with What If, I watched What If Really liked it. Well done acting, and it was a really great series. Now, I will say I don't think I'll be seeing it every day. I'll probably queue it up on my watch list, but I will when I'm off. I'm gonna probably just watch it one by one, but I binge it. But yeah, I don't think I can do it every day. So
Mhm.
absolutely, I'm gonna see both, but very well, very well.
Mhm.
I am really looking forward to Aquaman. Number one, I enjoyed the first one, and I love the actor that plays Manta.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh,
He,
Yaha. I can't pronounce his last name. I know what you're talking
I,
about.
I
He's in the new
love
one,
his
right?
work. Huh?
Same
Yeah,
same
yeah, he's
actor's in the
back.
new
Same
one,
guy.
right? Yeah,
He's back.
Same guy. Yeah, did an awesome job.
yeah, I like him. He's really good.
If I'm not mistaken, he also played Dr. Manhattan
Oh,
in the TV version of The Watchmen, which was like a sequel.
oh, it was a sequel. Okay, so I saw The Watchmen in the movies. I didn't know that was a
It was
sequel.
one that came out on, I think it was on, I don't know if it was on Prime or if it was on one of the streaming services.
Okay,
Was it on HBO Max?
I
HBO
don't, it's on
Max.
HBO Max now,
Okay,
but a lot of the Warner Brothers stuff is on Netflix again.
yep, I saw that.
I know.
They're coming back on
So,
there.
you know,
Hmm.
we'll have to come back and talk about streaming and
Yeah,
separately because
I like to understand how they end up being on Netflix. Like I think Batman is now on Netflix or
Yeah.
going
it's
to
all
be.
about money. People were not buying, they're getting tired of buying different streaming.
So they just okay.
So now they want to be able to go, everybody goes to Netflix. Nobody's given up on Netflix yet.
No.
So they're wanting to, we got to go where the money's at.
Mm.
Michael, Disney Plus and Hulu did something similar recently where the other day I signed into Disney Plus, and I'm like, since when did they have Hulu stuff on there? And I was like, wait a minute.
Well,
I know they're partners, but I was like, okay, this is
it
interesting.
yeah, but check your bill because I got a bill for Hulu now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they knocked me out. I had basically Disney. I'm in the Disney brand. So
Hmm.
I can get Hulu and Disney Plus, but now they're like rejected and all, and now they're trying to bill me. I'm like,
Yeah,
what's going on? So
Sure.
I
there's
have the
some.
bundle as
you got to
well.
tell you
And
work for the mouse.
I work for the mouse. Come on, man.
you should get a discount for that.
Uh-oh.
No, they pay for it.
Oh, they do pay for it. Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on?
All right,
That's
guys. So
crazy.
listen, we have got to get back together. I don't know if I'll be able to do another round robin like this before the end of the year, but definitely next year we'll have to come back and talk about what happened with Aquaman, talk about streaming. We'll do some other things. I will be doing multiple shows, so follow me on Tio Michael Talks on Facebook. I'm on Threads, and I am on Instagram, so you can follow me there. And again, as you guys start to build up your different things and your what you're forming on, by all means, let me know, and I'll spread the word for you. But you're always welcome to come on to the show, and then I'll be doing different things, art, toys. I got a couple of things I'm working on right now. Hey, don't make me start taking out my toys. You can see my stuff hanging all over the place.
A
Well, you
huge,
start
a
taking your
huge
toys out.
discount.
I'll take out
A
my
huge
Nintendo.
discount. Thank you, Black
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Happy
Thank you.
holidays. I hope you guys
Yes, happy
enjoy.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
All
Happy
right. I'm
holidays.
gonna end. I'm gonna shut off the recording. But if you guys need to talk about anything, we'll still be on.